Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Amit, and in today's video I want to talk about a couple of misconceptions that people have about a hair transplant. So I thought, what better way to do that in a video talking about all the myths that are out there, and hopefully we can debunk them together. So the first myth of getting a hair transplant is that your transplanted hairs will never fall off. That is unfortunately not true. Although it seems like a permanent fix, transplanted hairs are still susceptible to falling off. And now it doesn't mean that you're losing those hairs completely. It just means that the transplanted hairs are being pushed out for newer hairs to be grown. The transplanted hairs are coming from a DHT resistant area, which is your donor area. Now, for those who don't know what DHT is, DHT means dihydrotestosterone and is the main factor of what causes hair loss on our scalps. The donor area has the most DHT resistant hairs, hence the clinics and doctors are able to extract hair from the donor area and place it onto our hairline, mid-scalp, or even our crown. Over time, they are less susceptible from falling off, but it doesn't mean those hairs will still miniaturize. Also, because we've had a hair transplant, we go through different phases throughout that procedure, and one of them is the shedding phase. When that happens, a lot of your transplanted hairs will fall off, but again, it means new hairs are growing out. While those transplanted hairs are falling off, the native hairs that you've had previously around that area would still fall off as well along with it. So that's why it's important to take certain medication like finasteride that helps combat DHT even more and helps you keep those hairs in the future as well. The next myth about a hair transplant is that it is extremely painful. This is somewhat true, but also somewhat not true. The only real painful part of the entire procedure is actually when they inject your scalp with local anesthesia. Although when I went to get my hair transplant, I was under the impression that it would be a painless procedure, but it was not. Honestly, from a scale from 1 to 10, I'd rate that pain about an 8 or 9. But again, it is only temporary. It only lasts for about 30 seconds, and then after that, your entire scalp is numb. The only downside is that although the doctor does inject your donor area once to extract the hairs out, they have to inject the top of your hairline again to place the transplanted hairs in. So you will have to get it done twice when you do get a hair transplant. Again, that pain will last only about 30 seconds, but everything before and after is painless. Now, the only thing that you do have a little issues with after your hair transplant is the headaches that come afterwards. Like any other procedure or any surgery that you go for, you're naturally going to feel some pain after it. So the doctors generally provide you with painkillers and swelling medication to help reduce that over time. The first 2 weeks are a bit tough, but after that, you're pretty much back to normal. Now, the next myth about a hair transplant is that the results are immediate. A lot of people have this idea that once you get a hair transplant done, you'll probably get results within maybe 2-3 months. That's not the case at all. What people have to understand is that it is a process and it takes some time to get to the end goal. It's like you go to the gym. You start for 1 week, you're not going to see results the following week. It takes a long time to get to that place, but as long as you're consistent with your workouts and your regimen, you probably get the desired physique that you want. Same thing goes for getting a hair transplant. Although after you finish your hair transplant, your hairs will start to grow over time, but what's important is that you have to mentally be prepared to take certain aftercares to maintain a routine. And as you see that happen, it ends up growing more and more. You really start to see the full effect of a hair transplant closer to the months of 8 and 9. And then by the 1-year mark is really when your full hair is in its fruition. Another myth about a hair transplant is that a lot of people think that the hair transplant's final results look unnatural. This topic has to do a lot about how the hairline looks, and a lot of people complain that it looks too staggered or it looks too straight. Now, this is all dependent on the clinic and the doctor that you go and see. Generally, doctors understand how to do a good hairline, and this actually comes from the doctor with a good experience and understanding that you have to have a more jaggedy, natural look versus a directly straight line look. The clinic that I went to, which was Vera Clinic, they are renowned and well known for doing really good hairlines, which is why I went to them in the first place. They did a great job on my hairline. I specifically asked them not to do it even too low because at my age, I'm currently 34. Having too low of a hairline would give me the impression that I look too young for my age, so that's something I did not want. If you go and speak to the doctor and make them understand your situation, and trust me, they will understand your situation, and you ask for maybe a higher hairline or maybe a little more jaggedy edges, if you go to the right clinic, they will understand you and get you the desired look that you want. There's also a link in the description below if you want to hit them up for a free consultation. My next myth is that hair transplants are extremely expensive. To a certain extent, this is true. A lot of places in different parts of the world, hair transplants are pretty expensive, but if you look at the right places, they can be affordable. But of course, it's a trade-off of what you're going to get versus how much you're going to pay. An example is that a lot of clinics in Turkey or India, they offer packages whereby you can pay maybe 2,000 to 3,000 USD, but you get a full hair transplant and it works out really well and you look great. However, you're probably not going to get the attention of a doctor or the convenience of traveling around. There are other hair transplants, like for example in the US, where you can get the attention of the doctor, and if you live there, the convenience of moving around, but the catch is that the cost is going to be at least 5 times the amount, close to maybe 15 to 20,000 USD. Now it's really up to personal preference on what you can afford versus what you value more. Whether you value your time or you value your convenience, it's really up to you on how you go for it. I personally went for 2 hair transplants in Turkey. I went and I got it for roughly around 7,000 USD for both transplants. To me, my results turned out perfectly fine. I was okay not having a doctor operate on me, but the technicians there were equally as qualified, so I was very happy with the results. But overall, I decided to go for it and I was very happy with how it turned out. So again, it's up to personal preference. If you are happy with spending more and possibly getting more out of it from your doctor, then go for it. But if you're okay with spending a little less and traveling across the world to a place like Turkey, it's totally fine as well. Another myth about getting a hair transplant is that once you get it done, you don't have to do anything else after that. Now that is not true at all. As I mentioned earlier, there are certain things you have to keep taking after a hair transplant, because if you don't, you're going to end up losing not your new transplanted hairs, but your native hairs that are around it. I did touch on finasteride as one of them. Finasteride helps keep your native hairs from before, but another vital thing to continuously take is Minoxidil. Now, Minoxidil is still something that a lot of people are afraid to use because once you start it, they fear that their hair is going to shed in the future and then they're going to lose it all. But if you're consistent with it, you'll start to see some really good growth in those areas that you're losing hair or thinning. Besides Minoxidil, there are tons of different products you can use as well. I use a bunch of different things, which I'll list in the description below, but generally different types of hair oils, different types of vitamins such as biotin, different types of shampoos and conditioners. Although it does seem like a lot, it does all help in the long run. So it's something that you have to get used to even after a hair transplant. The last myth about a hair transplant on my list is that hair transplants are not just for men. That's right, ladies, you heard me. If you need a hair transplant, it's totally acceptable to get it. A lot of women nowadays, they end up having receding hairlines or losing hair or thinning hair even. Although there are a lot of aftercare routines out there and oils and hair care products that actually help with hair growth, some women opt to get a full hair transplant. I've had so many women in my comments actually been voiced out that they've actually got a hair transplant. And to me, that is amazing, because even when I started this journey, I didn't think that women would be able to get a hair transplant because they have so much hair on their head. Why would they even consider it? But there are some people out there that have that, and it is completely okay and it's completely fine. I in fact encourage it, and if there are any women watching my video and have had a hair transplant, I'd love to hear from you as well. Leave a comment below and I'd love to hear your thoughts about getting a hair transplant and how it's impacted your life so far. Alright, I think that's all of the myths that I could talk about today. I hope you guys enjoyed this little debunking of what a hair transplant entails and hopefully has educated some of you guys out there about it. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you are enjoying the content, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.